Welcome to Bright Inside. According to some estimates, the Milky Way, our home galaxy, may contain up to 40 billion planets capable of supporting life. Within the universe, there are countless galaxies like the Milky Way. Given these enormous, nearly infinite numbers, it appears impossible that there is no other intelligent life in the universe. Furthermore, our civilization may not have been the universe's first intelligent civilization. Recently, the focus has shifted from "do aliens exist?" to "how can we find aliens?" Some of the countless alien civilizations that could have existed for hundreds of millions or even billions of years. It's difficult to imagine their level of science and technology. Nikolai Kardashev, an astronomer, had the same thought. He proposed that alien civilizations could be billions or even tens of billions of years old, and he began categorizing civilizations based on their level of technological advancement. Kardashev determined that a civilization would require energy above all else to develop, regardless of the type of alien, its appearance, or what it eats. Of course, energy is required to sustain life, but advances in science and technology necessitate massive amounts of energy as well. A civilization that generates more energy may be considered a more advanced type of civilization. Kardashev then quantified the amount of energy consumed by civilization and used this as a criterion for categorizing potential alien civilizations. This classification method is now known as the Kardashev Scale. Kardashev defined only 3 types of civilizations, from type 1 to type 3, but subsequent researchers have expanded this up to type 7. Consider how each type of civilization might appear. A type 0 civilization obtains energy from natural resources found on their home planet. Other than trees, a somewhat advanced type 0 civilization would use resources such as soot, oil, or natural gas. A type 0 civilization has either not developed propulsor technology or generates power for all of its propulsors by burning chemical fuel. In the grand scheme of alien civilizations, a type 0 civilization could be described as a baby civilization. The type of civilization is determined by the amount of energy produced per second on the Kardashev scale. A type 1 civilization generates between 10 and 16 power watts of energy per second. Based on the total amount of energy we consume, our global civilization in 2018 would be at level 0.72 on the Kardashev scale, according to astronomer Carl Sagan's calculation method. To advance 0.1 points on this scale, the amount of energy would have to be multiplied 10 times. As a result, we can estimate that it will take 100 to 200 years for our civilization to progress from 0.72 to 1.0. A planetary civilization is another term for a type 1 civilization. Planetary civilizations do not rely on natural resources like soot or oil. Instead, nuclear energy would be their primary source of energy. Although our current civilization at level 0.72 uses nuclear power plants to convert nuclear energy into electricity, the energy for these plants is obtained through nuclear fission. Nuclear fission is far from ideal because of its low energy conversion ratio, the generation of radioactive waste, and the high risk of nuclear accidents. Nuclear fusion would be used instead by a type 1 civilization. Our sun has been burning for billions of years because of nuclear fusion. We could obtain clean, safe, and nearly limitless nuclear energy if we could develop the ability to use nuclear fusion. Propulsors in a type 1 civilization would be primarily powered by nuclear energy. We would be able to send manned spacecraft to nearly any planet in the solar system once we reached type 1 civilization. Cancer and other incurable diseases caused by viruses and infections would be eradicated by our advanced science and technology, and advances in regenerative medicine would allow us to regenerate any organ. This would significantly extend our average lifespan. In addition to living on land, we would be able to live at sea and in the clouds. It is estimated that the transition from an early Type 1 civilization to an advanced Type 1 civilization would take approximately 3,000 years. A stellar civilization is another name for a Type 2 civilization. A Type 2 civilization's primary energy source would be nearby stars. Once a civilization reaches the final stages of Type 1, energy generated on a planetary scale through artificial nuclear fusion is no longer sufficient for scientific and technological advancement. Taking energy from nearby stars would then be the most efficient and realistic method of obtaining energy. The concept of a Dyson sphere was developed by Freeman Dyson, a theoretical physicist and Albert Einstein's contemporary. He predicted that as civilization advanced, it would eventually be able to obtain energy from nearby stars. One method would be to use a Dyson sphere, which is essentially a shell built around a star. A Dyson sphere could be used to capture the majority of the energy released by the star it orbits. However, it would be inefficient and unrealistic to completely cover a star with such a sphere and other structures, such as a Dyson ring installed around a star or a Dyson swarm consisting of multiple Dyson rings, have been proposed as more realistic. When our civilization reaches Type 2, we will no longer face energy-related problems in everyday life. This will also end poverty. We would be able to freely travel to and from any planet in the solar system, taking the first steps toward colonizing space. Our regenerative medicine technology would reach the genetic level in the field of life science, and we would be able to regenerate any part of the body. At our current rate, our civilization will be classified as a Type 2 civilization in 100,000 to 1 million years. A galactic civilization is another name for a Type 3 civilization. A Type 3 civilization would obtain energy in the same way that a Type 2 civilization would. They would, however, gather energy from stars both near and far across the galaxy. Anti-gravity devices would also be used for the first time in a Type 3 civilization. Anti-gravity technology would be applied not only to vehicles but also to planets on a larger scale. A Type 3 civilization could use wormholes to travel across the galaxy, but would not be able to create them. Type 3 life forms would have already lived the longest lives possible for their species, bringing the field of life science to a close. The next goal for such a civilization would be to achieve immortality by extracting consciousness from flesh. This, however, would be impossible for a Type 3 civilization. Although Kardashev believed that this was the pinnacle of civilization and that further advancement was impossible, other astronomers have argued that even more advanced civilizations could exist. A universal civilization is another term for a Type 4 civilization. Although a Type 3 civilization is capable of traversing the galaxy via wormholes, it relies on pre-existing wormholes. A civilization would need to be able to create their own wormholes in order to move freely throughout the galaxy. However, there isn't enough energy in the galaxy to keep artificial wormholes running. This is the point at which a civilization takes its first steps toward becoming Type 4. Supernovas would be the primary source of energy for a Type 4 civilization. Supernovas are massive explosions that occur at the end of the life of a massive star. A supernova is characterized by a concentrated and intense release of energy close to the star. This would be an extremely efficient source of energy, generating an amount of energy equal to the amount of energy stored and released by the star over the course of its lifetime. A supernova occurs once every 40 years in a single galaxy, so a Type 4 civilization would have to travel across multiple galaxies to gather this energy. When a civilization reaches this level, it will be able to extract consciousness from flesh and attain immortality. Intelligent life could also be created, and many Type 0 civilizations could have been created by Type 4 civilizations. The gods and creators depicted in our myths and religions are actually Type 4 life forms. A Type 4 civilization, however, is neither omniscient nor omnipotent. They've progressed to the point where they've realized an important truth. The theory of parallel universes is correct. There are universes other than our own. A multiversal civilization is another name for a Type 5 civilization. When a civilization realizes that the theory of multiple universes is correct and travels to other universes, it becomes a multiversal civilization. To travel to other universes, an enormous amount of energy would be required. A Type 5 civilization would start looking for energy in white holes. A white hole is the polar opposite of a black hole in that it continues to emit mass and energy. White holes were predicted to exist by using time-reversing black hole solutions to Einstein field equations. Although they exist only in theory for us at the moment, a Type 5 civilization would have discovered the existence of white holes and would be able to obtain energy from them. It has been calculated that a single white hole would emit energy equivalent to 14 million times that of the entire galaxy. A Type 5 civilization would collect energy from white holes in one universe in order to open the door to other universes. They would undoubtedly believe that they have reached the pinnacle of civilization, but they would soon discover a truth. They have mastered the three-dimensional world, but there is life in higher dimensions as well. A multidimensional civilization is another name for a Type 6 civilization. When a civilization realizes that life exists in dimensions beyond the third, it has taken the first steps toward becoming a multidimensional civilization. However, even if we could enter the fourth dimension, our three-dimensional bodies might be destroyed the moment we do. This would not be a problem for Type 6 lifeforms, who have already shed their bodies and exist solely as consciousness. The difficulty for them would be obtaining sufficient energy to enter a higher dimension. They could use the nearly limitless energy collected from white holes in various universes to travel to higher dimensions. Entering even a single higher dimension would multiply our abilities hundreds of times over. Such a civilization, for example, could freely travel backward and forward in time, overcoming cause and effect and truly becoming omniscient and omnipotent. They would soon come to a new understanding. If civilizations like ours created Type 0 civilizations, who created us in our world? A creator civilization is another name for a Type 7 civilization. Unfortunately, civilizations cannot progress beyond Type 6 multidimensional civilizations. A Type 6 civilization would recognize the existence of a creator civilization, but would be unable to evolve into a Type 7 civilization no matter how hard they tried. The creator civilization is not a civilization at all, but rather existence itself. At this level, the creator of all matter, energy, natural laws, space, time, and dimensions exists. They would be gods of gods rather than gods. We can't even imagine what Type 7 existence would be like at our current level of 0.72.